What is good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel and my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into today's video. Happy Sunday, you guys. So, I want to talk about the one thing that stops you from seeing your desires and manifestations that are always present. And this is what stops you from actually being able to be present in the moment. And that is the belief in identification with thoughts. And we're going to talk about this more in depth on my I Am Immersion experience coming December 14th and 15th. I'm so excited for you guys who have already signed up. And if you would like to join us for this amazing 2-day online experience, then definitely get down in the comments below and check it out. So, I want to start by saying, you guys, and I know you've heard this before, but what does it truly mean when people say that you're not the thoughts, the mind, or the body? And what this really means that anything that is changeable or changing is not who you truly are. And you are the one thing that does not change. Your true identity, I am, is prior to thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and everything. All things come out of consciousness, come out of awareness. And within I am, everything comes out of that consciousness, that awareness. But it is the one thing that does not change. So forms change, your thoughts change, your body changes, all these things. So it can never be who you truly are. But when you're identified with that changing, with that body, with that mind, with that changing, this stops you from being able to see and acknowledge who you truly are. So, again, prior to thoughts and feelings, whatever we filter or put after I am limits that experience, filters a certain experience. But you are still prior to that which you are limiting that certain experience or that filter through. And so there's a quote that says, "We are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens." And I have a client that had major breakthroughs while we were on the phone and this past weekend. And I want to talk about what was happening in real time in regards to being identified with specific thoughts with about our SPs or about ourselves. And it really just veils over what's present, what's already currently here when you're identified with certain thoughts and beliefs. So, again, you guys, like I said, thoughts arise out of consciousness and they come out of nothing, that void, and go back to nothing as long as we don't attach to them. But when you're identified or attached to thoughts, the thought grabs onto the mind and it takes it on a ride when you're identified as that separate self, stepping out of that awareness of being the all. So, this client, who, by the way, has been having amazing success in her life, in her manifestations, but every time we talked about her SP, there was this running story and this string of thoughts about him and the relationship that cover up the truth about who he is and herself. And it was always going back to this story from 7 years ago that he did this, he did that. And what that does is now you have more thoughts and more beliefs about something that you believe to be true. And you bought into the story that stops you from seeing him and yourself as whole and complete. So the judgments are what's blocking you from seeing who he truly is. And so she would say that he shuts down, and I know that he just needs someone to pull him out of his funk or his mind when he gets quiet. And the truth is, how do you know that? How do you know that for real? It's your judgment about who he is that causes you to believe and project what you believe he needs. But what is it? It's actually what you need. So it's always to do this inquiry where we say that if she was saying, I know he just needs someone to pull him out of his moods and his minds when he's quiet. Break it down again, because what you're really saying is, I know he needs me to pull him out of his moods and minds when he's quiet. Again, how do you know that for real? Break it down again and say, I know I need me to pull me out of my moods and minds when he's quiet. And that's the truth, because you're projecting what you need from you, what you feel from that discomfort and that story that you've built up, those judgments that you've built up, which stop you from seeing who he truly is in this present moment. And what I really want you guys to know, because Byron Katie talks about this, and I think that this is beautiful. And she says, whenever basically SP hurts you, for example, how many times do you replay that scene in your mind? And then ask yourself, who is more unkind? SP, who insulted you once 7 years ago, and that was never to be seen again except in your memory, or you who multiplied that insult over and over again in your mind? And I want you guys to think about it. Were your feelings the result of SP's action itself or your own judgments about it? And this goes for anything, you guys. Really sit with that, because this goes for anything. The mistakes that you think that you made in the past, a financial hit, a perceived loss, they all happened once and they're never to be seen again. But you replaying and having the judgments about yourself and others is that veil from seeing the truth of the present moment and what's here now. And so while we were on the phone, he texted her back because she was really just upset at the beginning. She was like, I don't know, I'm over it. And the stories was running on repeat. The belief, the buying into one story was on repeat. And she said that they were going to go to the movies yesterday. And she said, well, he didn't respond and all these things. And then he messaged her back while we were on the phone. And as we were breaking down all of this, and she was getting that understanding that she was placing the judgments on what she thought that he needed based off of one thing that happened 7 years ago, which basically covered up seeing that the relationship was good now, that he's here now, that you guys are together now, and that there's nothing wrong with who he is now. Right. And he texted her back and he was saying, oh, they're sold out, so basically there was nothing wrong. She thought that there was something wrong and all this stuff based off of the judgments that she believed about him stemming from 7 years ago. Right. And so then yesterday she messaged me and she told me this amazing thing. She was like, he asked her, what was she doing the first week of December? And he said, do you want to go to Dubai with me? And she's like, what? I get to go to Dubai to hang out with my man. And her best friend lives out there. And she was like, I just never thought that, this would happen so fast. And it's the seeing that all the judgments, everything that you think was going on was you hurting yourself, basically. So was it the one thing that happened with SP 7 years ago, or was it you that kept replaying it over and over and over again in your mind, and then more judgments, more things that were grabbing onto you and saying that you should believe this, and now because you believe that, now you have more judgments about him, now you have more judgments about the relationship, more judgments about yourself. And so when you are identified as that separate self, or believing in a thought that's not true, or identified with the mind and the thoughts, then the thoughts take you. They take you on a nice little ride into an illusion that stops you from seeing what's already here, that there's only love, there's only peace, there's only happiness, there's only wholeness, there's only completeness within him and within you. And the holding on to that one story or that one belief caused a whole bunch of other beliefs and judgments on that, which creates a veil over what's truly here, you guys. So it's seeing the truth, seeing that he's here with you now, and that he's fine the way that he is, and your judgments about him are based off of one belief that happened one time that you kept replaying over and over and over again, right? So, and that you're fine the way that you are as well. So everything's fine. There was nothing ever wrong, right? And it's the fact that we hurt ourselves, that no one is really hurting us, because we hurt ourselves the more that we keep replaying and we keep having judgments about the fact that that something should be different than what's currently appearing now, or what we believe happened years ago, or this one time, or this money situation, and all these things. That if I could just go back to that 7 years ago and make that somehow different, and to believe in something different, and if I could just go back to that money situation and I could do this and do that, instead of realizing that it's only now and that only happened one time in memory, right? And it's never to be seen again. It only happened once and is never to be seen again, but you keep dragging it up in your memory, right? Because of that belief that you grabbed onto, that this is happening and this means this, and the judgments and the layers on top of that, then the more judgments, and then you want to figure out how to manifest your way out of it, and then there's more judgments and more things that you're putting on top of it, instead of realizing that this is not the truth of who I am. This is not the truth of SP. This is not the truth of the situation, right? So it is the identification with thoughts and beliefs as a separate self, as a mind. When you identify as that separate self, you step into this 3D filter more and you live from here instead of living from that I am. So you step into this separate self and you believe yourself to be this mind in your body and all these things. And now you have this story, right? So it's really seeing that what you think sometimes that the other person needs are things you're projecting basically about what you need from yourself, not from them, or what you need from yourself, right? So I'm just going to leave this here, you guys. We're going to talk about this more in my I Am Immersion experience, but it is the identification with thoughts and thinking that you're the mind and the body that keeps you from seeing the present moment, keeps you from seeing the truth about who you are. And realizing that when you're living from I am, you're using the body and the mind instead of thinking that you are the body and the mind. And that is a difference, you guys. So if you would like to work with me by phone or via email or come to the I Am Immersion experience, you could get down in the description box below. And once again, you guys, imagination is on your side and I am too. Bye.